Can Batman guide a tortoise across the US during the zombie apocalypse? It's 5 years into the zombie apocalypse. Resources are scarce and the humans are losing the battle, but there is hope. Bruce Wayne is holed up in LA with a tortoise. In this tortoise's veins flow the key to developing a zombie vaccine. However, the scientists who can develop the vaccine are in New York City, and the reagents needed to create the medicine have a shelf life of 2 more years. Can the Dark Knight save humanity by guiding this tortoise across the country in 2 years? I mean, theoretically, but I guess this is all theoretical, isn't it? The rules. The tortoise is a full-grown and healthy male Galapagos tortoise weighing 500 pounds. It will need to be fed and taken care of like any other tortoise. Batman also needs to feed himself, find water, etc. The zombies act like most movie zombies, but they want to bite the tortoise as well. They can be knocked out temporarily or killed by destroying the head/decapitating. Gas-based vehicles, cars, planes, motorbikes, ships are out of fuel and can't be used. If the tortoise gets bitten by a zombie, game over. If Batman gets bitten, he becomes a zombie within 48 hours. The tortoise understands the situation, wants to get to NYC, and will mostly obey Bruce Wayne's commands, but is otherwise limited to tortoise-like skills. Bruce Wayne starts with a fully equipped batsuit, but with no refills to weapons. The tortoise cannot be fitted with armor or protective gear of any kind. Round 1. Normal, slow zombies, easy to incapacitate. Round 2. 28 days later zombies, fast, harder to incapacitate. Round 3. All the zombies have been replaced with bloodlusted 5-year-olds who understand that they have to stop a tortoise from getting to the other coast. Also, the tortoise can only move by walking, or by being carried on Batman's back. Round 4. Same as round 1, but replace the tortoise with 2 perpetually blackout drunk Kramers, and replace Batman with Napoleon. Sorry, what are these rounds? I don't understand this game anymore. Round 4, same as round 1, but replace the tortoise with 2 perpetually blackout drunk Kramers and replace Batman with Napoleon. Is there a scale for replacement insanity? 'Cause this tops it. Right? Like, that's a little too much to change in your scenario here, pal. Can't he just hold up in a port city and get a sailing boat? He could fish for food and collect rainwater. Once in a while, he might need to go ashore for supplies, but 2 years is plenty of time to sail from one coast to the other. If I didn't just remember the Panama Canal a couple days ago, I would think this person's insane, because at least looking at a map, I don't think you could sail from LA to New York because the continent's fully connected. I mean, like, you still could sail, but it would take like a long time. What's the speed of a tortoise? Could it even make it unhindered at its pace in 2 years? You see, now that's a reasonable question because I also don't know how fast tortoises move. Gas-based vehicles, cars, planes, motorbikes, ships are out of fuel and can't be used. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Batman could probably cook up something that's not gas-based in 2 years. I mean, yeah, Batman's smart and all, but in a zombie apocalypse and not in the Batcave, he won't have the supplies needed to make a new vehicle. A silverback gorilla has mastered every form of martial arts. What is the strongest creature in the animal kingdom that he can defeat? An adult male silverback gorilla, who will be henceforth called Kung Fu, descends from an ancient monastery shrouded in mist atop a mountain. He has attained complete mastery of every real-world martial arts tradition. What is the strongest creature in the animal kingdom Kung Fu can defeat in 1v1? Round 1, any creature alive today in that creature's natural habitat. Round 2, any creature that ever lived in Earth's history. For the concept's sake, he can survive in the creature's natural habitat, underwater, high altitude, etc. Oh god, this is making me realize I don't know that many animals. Round 1, I feel like he could beat anything, really. I mean, it's a gorilla. Round 2, I don't know if he could necessarily beat a dinosaur. But can he beat a grizzly bear that's done the same? Muay Thai grizzly. I do think it would be a challenge, but I don't know if we should wish this into existence just because the collateral would be monstrous. If you believe in the mystic parts of martial arts, Kung Fu is far too powerful for any current animal. We can only speculate as to the power of dinosaurs, but those would be the only creatures capable of putting up a fight. And as a side note, I'd upvote this post just for the name Kung Fu. Dude, you've basically created Gorilla Batman. We're all gonna die. The Kong-mobile. According to WWW, a normal gorilla can throw a full-grown blue whale across Africa, so a gorilla trained in martial arts could probably one-shot all animals currently living or extinct without breaking a sweat. Yeah, but I'm gonna have to see your source on that. A gorilla can throw a blue whale across Africa? That's like too far, I think. I'm starting to think Joe Rogan frequents this subreddit. I mean, if half of these are about gorillas and apes, then probably, yeah. Who is the strongest person my son can beat using his claimed feats? My 3-year-old makes some interesting claims. Who is the strongest person he can defeat if they are true? Strength.
I can jump to the moon. I can beat up your barber for taking your hair. I'm going to cut my vegetables with my carrot.
Owns a child's punching bag he enjoys. Durability.
I'm okay.
Post walking into a door. Doesn't notice the feeling of walking on his Lego. Speed.
I'm going very fast, like Lightning McQueen.
Lightning McQueen moves around 200 miles per hour. Always wins, but it's very close while racing me, according to him.
I'm fast like Spider-Man. Zoom.
Endurance. He's 3. Dude doesn't stop unless there is food. Miscellaneous. Knows the alphabet backwards.
I can hear Mommy.
She's over 10 miles away working. Those are some pretty bold claims coming from a 3-year-old, so let's just see what happens when we put him against Thanos. The speed, durability, and strength required to jump to the moon are truly insane and vastly overpower his other physical feats. That alone puts him in leagues above much of the MCU. He could probably fight the Hulk 1v1 without much effort. Even Thanos never showed the ability to reach escape velocity with just a jump. For him to survive such ludicrous acceleration of a moon jump without immediately liquefying, his durability is likely off the charts. If he can run 200 miles per hour on the ground, that's fine, but he's going to be jumping at 25,000 miles per hour. In fact, barring some hacks like telepathy or teleportation, I could see him 1v1ing any major character in the MCU. Not 616. Just off that one ridiculous strength and durability demonstration. Edit. Okay guys, I get it. He can step on a Lego.
I'm going to cut my vegetables with my carrot.
That is low-level reality warping. I'm not sure if it's a Scarlet Witch level. He subconsciously manipulates and rearranges atoms to make carrot sharp. Doesn't stop unless there is food. He also has Juggernaut-like abilities, which makes him a powerhouse.
I can jump to the moon.
Super speed and durability. Maybe not Flash level, but definitely supersonic. I'm not sure about 616, but your son probably could solo MCU. He can also take MCU Thanos without Infinity Stones. Alright, so maybe I made the wrong call giving him Thanos, since seemingly the consensus is this kid would stomp him. So, a glass cannon with powerful legs, with the moon jump and 200 miles per hour run. He's 3, so the technique is probably bad. So maybe if he throws a tantrum and accidentally kicks Batman, he could win. But to go even further beyond, since Batman has beaten Superman, and Superman has beaten Darkseid, as we continue this chain, I believe your child is stronger than Lucifer Morningstar and Michael. That's completely logical scaling and I see no issue with at all for once. His technique is indeed bad compared to adults, mostly swinging with arms, also goes for the eyes if you're on the floor. Oh, so he likes to fight dirty now, does he? Not much honor for a 3-year-old. Doesn't notice the feeling of walking on his Lego. Almost pointless proceeding unless you nerf this ability. Maybe a hot take here, but I don't think it's that impressive to walk on Legos. I've done it multiple times. It's a thing that happens. Call me crazy, lock me in jail, I don't care. Mike Tyson with arms of a gorilla versus a gorilla with Mike Tyson's arms. Round 1, Mike Tyson has gorilla's arms, and gorilla has Tyson's arms. Round 2, Mike has gorilla's arms and head, and gorilla has his arms and head. I don't fully understand the point of round 2. If anything, you could just say, yeah, let's see Mike Tyson fight a gorilla. Let's just go for that one at that point. Mike Tyson with gorilla arms could rip the arms off gorilla with Mike Tyson's arms and let him bleed out. And Mike has more combat IQ than the gorilla. Gorilla with Mike Tyson arms have better overall durability though, and a deadly bite. I'd probably still give it to Mike, but only 6 out of 10. And a deadly bite? Don't count old Mike out on that one. That is true, Mike's got some chompers. Both of them suffer big mobility losses here. The gorilla will be much slower and clumsy than normal since he can't move on 4 limbs anymore, and Mike's arms now weigh nearly twice as much. Not really sure here, this is just an estimate. So his attacks are now much slower and more awkward. I give a 6 out of 10 win to the gorilla simply because his body can tank more blows than Tyson's. This is genius! I'm giving it to the gorilla though. His body is just so much more larger. He could lay on Tyson. It'll likely take the gorilla a shorter amount of time to get accustomed to his newfound arms. Also, shorter arms, so now the gorilla must get used to walking upright so as not to put too much strain on weaker Tyson arms. With arms of a gorilla, Tyson will be straining to pick his larger arms up. Flexing and throwing a punch will be difficult. Noticing his arms on Tyson, the gorilla angrily swings at him, some landing and some missing, but all Tyson can do is cover up. The gorilla will be kicking as well, which will severely injure Mike. Gorilla, 9 out of 10. Who would win the presidency? A man who must use as many terms from Urban Dictionary as possible, or a man who can only speak in 17th century English? What does 17th century English sound like? Is that just British? Let's assume that they are both from the same party. We've seen the idea of being a political outsider who speaks his mind as appealing to conservatives based on Trump. I'm not bashing or supporting him, I'm just saying that was his appeal, and still is his appeal to his proponents. Because of that, Urban Dictionary Man has some advantages. 17th century man, on the other hand, will come off as sounding very intellectual. We have seen in recent cultural climates that being overly intellectual is seen as a negative. People don't want to elect someone who doesn't seem relatable. It's a common sentiment that intellectuals live in metaphorical ivory towers and don't understand the plight of the common man. Because of this, it's a landslide victory for Urban Dictionary Man. Edit. As many people have pointed out, 17th century man may also have trouble communicating in his outdated language. While this hurts him with intellectuals, to the common voter they don't really care if what he says makes sense, just that he sounds aloof. Anyone who's seen a political debate or rally knows that politicians talk out their asses and nobody really knows what they're getting at half the time anyways. I really wish this weren't true, but it is, and I hate it. 17th century man would be hard-pressed to talk while being seen as conservative and serious, while one using Urban Dictionary would appeal as modern and cool to teens, while also being untactful and impolite to adults. I guess 17th century guy wins due to Urban Dictionary guy controversy. If we are being honest, Urban Dictionary Man would be cool, but he would be canceled so quickly. English grad here. 17th century? Shakespeare died in 1616, early on in the century. His English had approximately 100,000 words. Ours has closer to 500,000. Some like computer, smartphone, antibiotics, and more would be completely unknown to this person. They could sound eloquent, but would not actually have the words needed to describe most modern situations. Urban Dictionary guy would. Aside from that, I am reminded of a South Park where some well-spoken guy was considered Look, I can say that, I don't think YouTube can hear it. There's that too. Like it or not, speaking to a third grade level is hitting the lowest common denominator. Look at Bush vs. Kerry. That loquacious windbag talked the people to sleep. Now, I normally try to avoid getting political, but you kind of asked for it. Considering the current president, Rude Boy MC Urban Dictionary would do just fine, while the guy speaking in 17th century English would just be seen as weird. Yeah, especially in this modern day climate, I don't think anybody would care about 17th century guy. What is 17th century English? Whomstead of... Not sure how accurate that example is, but if it works, it works. Urban Dictionary guy spends like 75% of his time with racial, sexist, anti-religious, etc. slurs. As long as he is Republican, he will be fine. Elsa, Frozen vs. Spider-Man, MCU. Is this like really even a question? I feel like Spider-Man's the no-brainer. Spider-Man is in character and doesn't know anything about Elsa. Elsa is bloodlusted and fully aware of Spider-Man's powers. Fight takes place in Arendelle. Starting distance is 10 meters. Round 1, Spider-Man without his suit, takes place in Elsa's castle. Round 2, Spider-Man with his suit from Homecoming, Elsa is given 24 hours to prepare in any way necessary, including the use of her ice monsters and other conjurations. Round 3, same as round 2, except Peter has watched Frozen. Honestly, zero idea the outcome of this. These rules are so strange. IDK the full extent of her abilities, but if Elsa can build an ice castle in a matter of seconds, she could definitely make some sort of dome to protect her from Spidey. Then it's just a matter of spamming hundreds of ice monsters until one finally gets the upper hand, or she could just call in a massive snowstorm to freeze him to death. I really want Spidey to win, but since Elsa effectively has an infinitely repairable ice shield and the ability to create a small army of minions, I have to give it to her. Or focusing her colossal heat-changing ability into an area the size of a human and causing his heart to reach absolute 0 in 1/100th of a second. Sorry, maybe I just missed out on some Elsa lore. I didn't know her powers were this in-depth. In my opinion, you're all looking at Elsa wrong. She's not a combat mage, she's a conjurer/summoner. She can whimsically create real, sentient life and massive castles. And don't forget, she has already created monsters to fight for her during hours of using her powers, so this isn't out of character for her. She grew up in a fantasy medieval world, so she would have exposure, but probably not training, to concepts like sieges and the general principle of archers shooting down from castle walls. In round 2 and 3, she has 24 hours to prep. That's a lot of snow golems and spear throwers alongside some seriously tall fortress walls. Yes, Spider-Man can basically one-shot anything she has ever created. Can he brawl his way through thousands of them while hundreds of other conjurers throw spears at him from above and Elsa is launching her AoE attacks from on high? Conjurer skill tree much greater than destruction skill tree in IRL fights. I mean, I don't understand it, but it sounded like they're spitting facts. Elsa is an arrow timer, but Spider-Man has some of the best reflexes in the MCU. Elsa's ice monsters can't take him down even without his suit, as they're so much slower and weaker than him. With respect, I give round 1 to Spidey 7 out of 10, round 2 to Spidey 9 out of 10, and round 3 to Spidey 10 out of 10. Am I the only one thinking that Elsa could flash frost Spidey's ass in the blink of an eye? I'm gonna be honest with you, Chief. I don't even know what flash frost means. Honestly, I've gotta give it to Elsa. Spider-Man's main tools are agility and evasion, but Elsa's powers allow her to create a huge AoE area that Spider-Man won't be able to see through or function in. Plus, he'd probably just freeze to death from the snowstorm before he got to Elsa. 1. Elsa's only hope here is that she's a very attractive young woman, bloodlusted, and new Spidey is kinda awkward and in character. Otherwise, Spidey is too strong, too fast, and too used to fights. He eventually gets past her defenses and nails her to the ground with webbing. Unless this stuff gets brittle when frozen. Like, I kinda see your point that Spidey might be weird about punching a pretty girl, but also she's gonna kill him, so he might change his mind. The army of Mordor took a wrong turn and goes up against the Roman Empire at its height. Their army camps in Germania, their base of operations, and prepares to annihilate all humankind. We assume the barbarians, Franks, Germans, have been wiped out or have fled to Rome. Rome responds by sending its entire army to face off against the enemy. It is currently 117 AD under Trajan reign. Rome has scouted at their foe and deduced that trolls, Mumakil, goblins, orcs, wargs, and so on are killable, yet are obviously still terrifying and foreign. The battle takes place on a flat land in northern Italy, both armies being everything they can muster. Rome has amassed every professional soldier in the empire, no sudden influx of recruits due to drafting. Round 1, no retreat, the winner of this battle conquers. Round 2, Rome can fall back and use attrition and fortification. The army of Mordor needs supplies to feed its army. Round 3, Julius Caesar leads the Roman army. Sauron, without the ring, leads Mordor. I feel like in reality, the fantasy monster creatures would be able to kill Romans pretty easily. So this thread in top comment is basically Roman army at their peak versus weaker Mordor. Not fair at all. I know, right? Why bother having this thread if we're going to nerf Mordor? It is pretty bad faith, if I have to say. Without Nazgul or Sauron, if he's got magical abilities without the ring, Rome win. They're smart. They'll lure the orcs into attacking them, so they'll win in that case. Reason being, shield wall. That style of fighting always beats unorganized rabble, the orcs. And for psychological reasons, while the orcs are going to notice their ranks thinning, they're not going to notice the same about the Romans. Then you've got accurate field artillery, ballista, etc., more than capable of dealing with trolls and elephants, etc. If Nazgul show up, Rome be effed. Nothing they've got can hurt it. As people always do in this common question, there are severe overestimations of orc skills. Orcs are weak, cowardly creatures, and the Uruk-hai, which people on this sub mythologize, are like 5 feet tall and just as cowardly. The people of Rome had such an insane warrior ethos prevalent within every facet of society. We're talking about an entire society that, when losing 25% of their fighting-age men in one battle and had Carthage knocking on its door, never considered surrender, but only how to defeat Hannibal. Just gonna throw out there, if armies of Gondor can stand up to trolls and the like, Romans sure as hell could too. Combined with the massive numerical advantage they have, gotta give it to the Romans. Video game logic no longer applies to video games. How far can the protagonists of their respective games get? Every video game now has realistic rules. FPS protagonists lose their Wolverine superpowers, Mario is no longer able to outperform Olympic gymnasts, and Sub-Zero won't get up and fight after having both eyeballs impaled by Baraka's arm blades. Of course, the rest of the game world is also realistic now. Enemies are no longer bullet sponges, for example, but 3 shots to the ankle won't cause instantaneous death. Also, stuff like walking over a medkit to heal your wounds won't work. The exception to this is if the lore permits it. This includes magic. For example, Adam Jensen is able to jump 3 meters in the air because he has augmented legs, but Mario, the regular plumber, can't do that anymore. The protagonist has to play through the entire game. Round 1, which protagonist has the highest chance of beating the game? Round 2, which protagonist will probably die somewhere along the way? Round 3, who will encounter a section that is now literally impossible to complete? Round 4, which protagonist won't even make it past the first level? Round 5, what game will change the most? Okay, geez, with that many different conditions, round 4, Mario, no shot he's getting past the first level. That dude cannot jump over like 40-foot pits. I feel as though Outlast would be relatively unchanged. The protagonist is super squishy in that game. 2 hits kills him if I recall correctly. I think the worst thing in terms of damage happens when he is thrown from a balcony, but that's hardly fatal. Superman beats Superman 64 in about 1 second. That's not even fair! Well, every Assassin's Creed protagonist is now effing dead. Face, meet haystack. You know, that is a really good point. It's always been a little silly that you can jump from, 10,000 feet in the air and just land in a hay bale and you're fine. GG, Rico Rodriguez. It was nice knowing you in the beginning cutscenes of Just Cause 2 and 3. Pokemon would probably change the least, except the protagonist would just get shot by Team Rocket. No, that's only if it took place in America. Lara's video game superpower seems to be luck. The first ancient thing she tries to grapple breaks and she falls down a bottomless pit and dies. Does magic still work? I could see Link surviving if he doesn't make any mistakes, but not if he tries to survive in a volcano by just wearing a regular red cotton tunic. Yeah, they didn't really specify how the magic was implied here. They said including magic. I don't know if that means magic still works, or you need to clarify your rules here, pal. Gordon Ramsay can breathe underwater. Can he fix the chum bucket? Some rules and reminders. The Kitchen Nightmares cameraman are present. Gordon will not help Plankton steal the secret formula. He's willing to help, but not break the law. Gordon has access to his pool of money. Gordon can take as long as he needs to fix the chum bucket. Plankton is fully aware of how poor his food is. While Gordon can't help Plankton steal the formula, that doesn't mean Plankton won't attempt to. At the end of the day, I feel like Gordon Ramsay would leave after the second formula stealing event from Plankton because he'd realize Plankton's not trying to make his restaurant better. On a long enough time frame, pretty much anyone not named Plankton could turn the chum bucket into a successful restaurant because there's nowhere to go but up. Plankton has only rarely turned his true genius towards accomplishing that. I'm pretty sure the whole restaurant is just an extension of his desire to one-up crabs. The real limiting factor is that Plankton is unlikely to quit his supervillain BS just because Ramsay is around trying to fix his business. Plankton will wind up doing something outside the realm of the restaurant proper that results in the police hauling him off or the heroes kicking his crap in. This is only going to be accelerated by the fact that Ramsay is filming everything and will get Plankton's ranting on camera. It's not a question of can Ramsay fix the business, it's a question of can he fix the core problem of the business being owned by a supervillain who only superficially cares about the success of the business. Yeah, this is the most logical response because Plankton doesn't care about having a good business. I'm honestly surprised this hasn't been a real episode. He'd be a fish named Gildan Ramsay. What about Gordon Clamsy? Gildan Clamsy. Wait a minute, is that Gildan Clamsy in my restaurant? Gordon Ramsay is a hypergiant who couldn't even fit inside the chum bucket or any other building. Plankton will need to construct a smaller remote body for Gordon to operate before anything else is done. Another good point, I kind of forgot about the size difference of SpongeBob people compared to, David Hasselhoff. He would fix it relatively easily, but once they do the follow-up, the viewers will find out that as soon as Gordon left, Plankton went back to his old ways and the chum bucket failed as a result. It's honestly a miracle Plankton still even has a business license this late in the game and you still don't get customers. The Yellow Hulk. Instead of getting stronger when angry, he gets more slippery. Who can defeat Bruce Banner? I feel like you don't even have anything for this, you just really wanted to show off that pun, huh? Exposed to radioactive bananas during a routine shopping trip, Bruce Banner is surely one of the most powerful characters. Resembles the Hulk, only is bright yellow instead of green. When he gets angry, he gets more slippery. In fact, he has the potential to become the slipperiest force in the Marvel Universe. He is exactly as indestructible as the Hulk, as agile, but not as strong. Though slippery, he never loses control of himself. Round 1, strongest he can defeat. Round 2, strongest he can cause to slip up. Okay, maybe you had some thought put into this. I'll entertain it for now. Slipperiest force in the universe? Well, you all know exactly what time it is. Time for the Yellow Hulk to beat the Flash. Yellow Hulk causes Flash to skid out of control and never be able to land a hit. Wins by fatigue. Flash is definitely the strongest person Yellow Hulk could beat going by feats, by beating Flash's feats. In the end, his biggest enemy is himself. You know when you drop your phone and get angry at yourself? Well, he drops his phone and gets angry, so now he's a bit more slippery. So there's a chance he drops his phone again. The slipperiness increases just a tad. Eventually, he hits a point where he's too slippery to pick up his phone or do anything constructive, but he keeps trying. As he keeps failing at day-to-day tasks, his anger increases, making it harder to do anything. The positive feedback loop causes his slipperiness to increase exponentially. Eventually, he hits slipperiness singularity and slips out of this dimension entirely, to tumble endlessly through the multiverse as a slippery ball of rage. You know, that actually sounds like a pretty nice way to go out. Exposed to radioactive bananas? All bananas are radioactive, yo. Does that mean I am the Yellow Hulk? Ooh, try getting angry. All I can imagine is the Yellow Hulk doing a continuous cartoon slipping backpedal thing. I'd say he could catch the Flash off guard, once. If Yellow Hulk forcing the Flash to slip, it might be the last thing the Flash ever does, depending on how fast he's going. I've got nothing. Just wanted to tell user Chesney that I admire the sheer silliness demonstrated with this question an enormous amount. You've made my day! It is definitely a very silly question. Round 1, Thor. If Thor can't keep a steady grip on Mjolnir, most of her, or his, depending on what continuity we're talking about, power is inaccessible. Round 2, he could probably trip Galactus. Galactus is an old dude, and if he slipped and fell on sufficiently angry Bruce Banner slippiness, the fall would make him break his hip and need to use kind of cosmic life alert. This is just making me think, how would Galactus get cosmic life alert? Like, who's gonna show up to help that guy? Well, those were some interesting little battles we dealt with today, but I do have to get going, unfortunately. Thank you all once again for watching. My name is Brandon, and I will make sounds at you another day. Bye!